Hey, we're Holly Holly and we're chatting with Milky.
Yeah, so this is our 5th album. We started off making like guitar music, really, kind of like guitar music with like storytelling in it. And over the years, we've sort of have been given a lot of freedom by our label to kind of really do whatever we want and, you know, pursue our own kind of like creative desires. And yeah, we kind of like started making records on tape, and then we were making them in computers, and then we were like dabbling in a bit of like electronics and dance music. And with this record, we're heaps of collaborators, because we found that to be exciting and inspiring. A good handful of like kind of bangers that are fun to play at festivals and fun to kind of pump in the car and things. And then we've just sort of followed our hearts and written a few songs that are a bit stranger. And the back half of a record's always such a nice place to sort of experiment, and we've really done that with this record. So it's a pretty diverse collection of songs.
In terms of the variation, I suppose, in what we're doing on this record, nothing specific prompted that. We have been going into this more electronic kind of influence territory. There's a lot of collaboration songs on this record with various different artists as well, and so each of those collaborative songs, will feature some of the flavour of that feature artist, whether it's Kwame on Messed Up or Med Harnett on a song called Neon Street, for example. So there's that as well, because some of the songs we work with other people. But I think also we just let the songs guide us as well. So, whatever the song is, sometimes the song will kind of speak back to you, You might think it wants to go in a certain direction, but then it doesn't, and you've got to follow that. And we, obviously love music and listen to a lot of different types of music. And so in the back of our heads, there's always some other voice that might be saying, oh, hey, this song sounds a bit like The Flaming Lips, for example, or something like that. And so you'll go in that direction a little bit. And so it's as much about letting the song guide it as it is about us trying to push it.
It's beautiful when a song has a story within it, and there's so many different, I've sort of learned over the years of like all the different ways that a song can do that. And we do it in a lot of different ways on this record. Like sometimes a song can be like a movie or a play. There are characters, and there's even like the voice of like who's singing changes, and there's a real story. And like we've got a song on this record called Ready, which is a song like that. And in the past, like a song like Elevator of ours is really like this literal kind of play scene by scene. And sometimes that's like the intention. And other times you can kind of inhabit a character. Like we have this song Rose, and it's also like has a whole story definitely within my mind, and I'm interested to see how the listeners will like understand that story. But that came out of spending time with someone who was going through a breakup, and they just sort of said it, like dropped a few lines. I remember he said, when I'm lying in bed beside her, I'm so lonely, or something like that. And I was just like, thought it was such a stark thing to say and a powerful line. And it was years later that it sort of ended up working its way into a song. But, so all these stories end up finding their way into the songs through all different sort of meanings. The title track Cellophane is sort of this meditation on leaving family behind in another country, family and friends behind, and all the emotions that go along with that, especially in the hours leading up to when you see them for the last time. And so it sort of has all these echoes of that aching kind of nostalgia and what it's like to miss someone who's so far away. So all those things kind of seep through the record. But we do again, like that thing about letting the song speak, we don't tend to kind of go into it like, right, what are the stories we want to tell and what are the themes we want to cover? It's more like we start with rhythms and beats and chords and improvising, and sometimes it's much later down the track that you kind of stitch together, oh, that's what that song's about, and that's where it comes from in our lives.
I remember Tim and I were chatting, it must have been last year. Yeah, it was definitely last year, and Tim was talking about Tasman Keith, Indigenous rapper, singer from New South Wales, and we were driving in the car and he played me Tasman's record that he put out. And I think we were working on this song that had almost like a spoken word kind of part that Tim had put together. And so we were looking for someone, and Tim really dug Tasman's record, and so he suggested him. And then there's this thing that happens where you reach out to someone and they're keen, you know, as well. So it's like, it was frictionless, I think, really, with Taz, and he was keen to kind of get in the room with us and also kind of speak to us and get to know us a bit as well, and like not just kind of come in and just sort of record a part and then go. And so we had a really nice afternoon with Taz, and like, so that's an example of a collaboration where I feel like it was really like easy but also wholesome and kind of like enriching kind of experience, you know, getting to know Taz. And every time you collaborate with someone, you kind of get to know them. And, you know, similar with Kwame, that happened very much by kind of happenstance or opportunism in a way, because Kwame, who sings on our song Messed Up, he worked with Tasman on Tasman's record, and Tasman just kind of like sort of roped Kwame in. He just sort of said, oh, Kwame's, you know, lives close by to you, should he just come down? And I think I was working on a bass part for a song, and I was having trouble with this bass part for this song, and I was like, oh God, it'd be great to get another set of ears. And Tasman just said, well, why don't I ask if Kwame's busy and he might be able to come by and help out? And I was like, yes, please.
I think we both thought that, you know, that would be like something that might happen, you know, at a future session or something.
Yeah, down the line.
But Tasman was like, he's going to be here in 20 minutes, and he just arrived like on the spot and led to those collaborations.
Yeah, and then Kwame was keen, and he was like, you know, I sort of put him in the hot seat and said, okay, well, you know, let's work on this bass line. Then we sent Kwame some other stuff that we were working on, and he literally came back the next day with a fully recorded vocal part for this song that is Messed Up, you know. Like, I think that when something, I don't know, I think when he showed this kind of almost like initiative, I guess, and it just like, I just love that, you know.
And we had this sort of half-baked concept at a certain point about the Holy Holy Song Factory kind of thing, that like, you know, Oscar and I get together and we write all these songs, and we've done that a lot, you know, this is our 5th record, and love doing that, and it's become, it's funny because we used to do a lot more, I feel like we used to talk more about like, what are we going to do with this record, but with this 5th album, I don't think we actually ever really like, it's become this unspoken kind of relationship, and it's uncanny the way that we have made, in terms of the music we want to make, we seem to just always be on the same page about wanting to do the similar things, which has been lucky, really. But this idea sort of came about with this one, that, you know, we can bring all these different people in, people at all different stages of their career, and who are all making music from all over the country, and then they just kind of come in with us, and we just sort of bounce around, and we sort of wrap our voices and our compositions and our production styles around them for this moment, make this song, and then, you know, we release it out into the world. And like, you know, like I mean, because it makes for quite a you know, strange record of all these songs that are strange bedfellows. But we were thinking about bands like Gorillaz, who, you know, who bring somebody in, and for a moment, you know, they're the star of that song, and like we were, you know, really keen. Like when Kwame came back and it was like the full first verse and the chorus, we were like, awesome, it sounds great, and it's exciting. And then when we're on the road, it's like the Holy Holy band kind of wraps around these people, and they come out and, you know, perform for our audience, and everyone, you know, we love it, and the crowds love it. It's a good vibe.
I feel like Pretend to Be is kind of a cool tune, and is like, it's quite just us, you know?
Sure.
Tim and Oscar, like, it doesn't have a feature artist on it, for example. I think it's quite kind of core to us, I suppose. The only thing it doesn't have is an absolutely shredding guitar solo.
Not yet, no. I have to add that in.
So I might have to add that in and change the album at a later date.
Yeah, and I feel like it would, like for me, it would depend a lot on, like if it was at a party and I was on the aux chord and people were dancing, then I'd play This Time, which I have done a few times lately, because I love leaking the record as often as I can.
How does it go?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, I played it. So at the film clip shoot for Ready, one of the cameras broke, and then we had all these extras. We had like 30 extras that were all just standing around, and I was like, all right, everyone, this is the Holy Holy album. And I just started playing, like dropping the tracks and leaking the record. And when we were in Bali recently, and we played a couple of unreleased songs in a DJ set there. So that was fun. But then, yeah, you know, and then if there was somebody who I know was like a bit of a folk kind of tragic, I'd play them Rose. But probably, I mean, at the moment, I really love the title track Cellophane. I don't know, I'm just proud of it. And because you know who it kind of reminds me of a bit as well, because we've talked about Flaming Lips and like the Beatles do, but I also feel like it's got a little bit of the Oasis's about it when it goes to that
The Cellophane, the song.
These days come around. It's like,
Yeah, okay.
because those classic, like, you know, real songwriting, like, that's so fun to sort of dabble in that.
Have you ever seen I've never seen Flaming Lips live, but they do this thing where what's his name? The singer comes out in a like a
Inflatable.
clear ball
inflatable
and
ball,
he
yeah.
rolls across
Yeah.
the crowd. I would love to do that someday.
Yeah.
Do it.
Well, Claudia has this director we work with has this idea. She wants to come on tour on the tour and bring a film crew. And when we do Cellophane, she wants like to have stairs down the front, and you and I like go out into the crowd, and everybody sings along, and she'll film it, and that will be the film clip for Cellophane.
Shit, yeah. And if we screw it up, we'll say, okay, everyone, we're going to do another
Okay,
one.
stop.
We're gonna
Just
do
go back.
another one.
We'll definitely be touring the record. We haven't really had a lot of like. At this point, we're at the like, what venues should we play? Like when, how, like what scale? You know, stage,
Should we use holograms or should we actually be present
Yeah.
at the shows?
lasers,
Laser beams.
smoke machines, costumes, all that kind of stuff. But we haven't started thinking too much. I do want to play Cellophane on the tour.
I like that idea you mentioned about having the stairs down, so maybe we can do that.
Yeah.
The thing is, we've got all these collaboration songs. There's Kwame, there's Tasman Keith, there's Med Harnett, there's Sumner,
Darcy Haven.
Darcy Haven, another artist, and she's from out
WA,
west, isn't she?
yeah.
So
Tia
getting
Carisse from London.
Tia Carisse from London.
And then Many Voices Speak from Sweden.
From Sweden. So there's a bunch of people to get together. The flights are going to be interesting.
Yeah. The tickets are going to be $350. But it's going to be an extravaganza.
Basically, all the crowd have to pitch in for the flights for us and the team, if that's okay. Forrest Claudette. Is Forrest Claudette still emerging? Was Forrest
He's
Claudette
like a
emerged,
butterfly, like freshly out of the cocoon, just looking hot and just like check this
flickering
shit
around
out.
and being eminently noticeable, just going, oh my god, yeah.
One of my favourite bands is Grievous Bodily Calm from WA. I don't know if they are emerging either, but I've seen them a few times live lately, and it's a real mind-melting experience. The live show in particular, like if you ever get the chance, can't rate them highly enough. Queen's in there for both of us, and Radiohead's in there for both of us. But then, like, I don't know, I always love like Future Islands and Phoenix. Anything else that you think? I mean, so much. Like, Raised on Wholly Different, like more classic songwriting stuff.
No Dream.
Green.
I mean, I don't know, like Björk or something.
OK Computer, Radiohead. Queen's Greatest Hits.
I was really influenced by Wide Awake It's Morning. I think that's the name of the record by Bright Eyes.
Blade Runner. Going for a wee.
I'm thinking, what are the lyrics?
Miley
Miley
Cyrus. Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yep, same.
Brian May.
Presidents of the United States of America.
Brian May from Queen was my Presidents of the United States of America. I love Presidents of the United States
Long
of
stand alone in a body mind, totally emotionless except for her heart.
Lou Reed with my dad when I was 14.
Bon Iver on the Perth tour.
Spice Girl.
Awkward Spice.
Grumpy Spice.
We played in Barcelona at Primavera. That was pretty memorable.
The show in London that Liam Gallagher
Oh, yeah, that was epic.
came to. There's no artist that's had the most influence on the music industry.
Maybe Kanye.
Work out what's going on with the back pain.
Maybe it's like, for me, it's like things are probably not as bad as they seem.
Nah, it's good lads.
Unless they are.
Yeah.
Your future self might be like, that was fucked, bro. When I first heard Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, listening to Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band on cassette.